Welcome to today's edition of Talking Tech. My name is Jonah Mwapoko, and with me in the studio today is Mark Essien. Mark Essien is the CEO and founder of Hotels.ng. Mark, thanks for joining us in the studio.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to be talking about technology in Nigeria, the e-commerce industry, and going public, especially. That is what we shall be focusing on. And then let me start with you, Mr. Mark. Recently, the Nigerian Stock Exchange paid you a visit. Members of the Nigerian Stock Exchange paid you a visit. That sent the kind of signal that maybe hotels is about to go public. Is that correct?
I think it's an option that we are exploring, as many other tech companies are also doing. The stock exchange are very interested in having young tech companies that are growing very quickly to come and list on the market and to get people interested in trading the shares. And we have communicated with them, we have indicated interest, and I think it's something that we are working together to see if there is a point in the future that we can actually make this happen.
So when they visited you or during your exchange, did they specifically tell you what they want from you?
Yeah, so to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, there are a bunch of rules. You don't just go and list as any random company. You need to meet some certain standards. You need to be aware of all the conditions, what happens as a public company. And, the discussion has been around, what are all those rules? What are the regulations? How ready are we to meet all of them?
Is this a particular kind of interest they have in you or your company? Or is this something, a kind of general education they're making in the industry?
No, there's a specific interest in us. There's no doubt that my ambition is to build one of the biggest travel companies in Africa. And I think in order for us to do that, we are going to have to list on an exchange. At some point, we will become a public company. It is a stated and clear goal for us. And the Nigerian Stock Exchange is also interested in having companies like us. So the conversations are very timely. It's a good thing. They are sharing information about how good it would be if we would list. We are asking them, what do we need to do to list? What is the process? And so on that would actually.
Okay, so from that conversation, how ready do you think you are? How soon would you prospect your?
I think listing, it's not a trivial process. For you to get your company in shape in order to list, it can take quite a long time. If anything, I would say for us, perhaps we could do it in 2018 or we could do it in 2019. But I don't think much further than that. Like before that point, I think we will be public on some exchange.
There you have it. Hotels.ng is going public latest 2019. So you can make your savings and get ready to start investing. So in the US or developed economies, we see sometimes startups even go public in a matter of 2 years, or even before they make a penny in profit. Why can't that happen here?
I think it can happen here, but a lot of what happens here is that people are not used, or companies are not used to going public. It's not really seen as a viable exit option. It's what we have here are people, where there is a chairman of a company and his children are running the company, and it's a family business, basically. Most of the companies, even the very big ones we have, are like that. But I think that this attitude has to change, because when a company is public, normal people are now buying shares in the company. And what this does then is that the company becomes open to everybody. People can see how it's being run, and it actually makes the companies operate better. On top of that, on the stock market, you can raise external capital that you need for expansion. And I think that having such a method, both for you to raise capital and for people to sell their own shares or trade shares in the company, is only good for business. Because then the share prices of companies start to reflect what they are doing, and there is a pressure on the company owners to be more ambitious, to do bigger things so that their share prices can go up.
On the part of business operators, from what you have seen in the e-commerce business today, are we on the right path to building the kind of companies like yours?
There is no doubt that the B2C segment, that is business to consumer segment, it's a tough segment in Nigeria. You really, really need to be operationally very tight. You need to run your company very well for you to survive over multiple years, for you to grow, and for you to make profits. There are some such companies, like a few e-commerce companies that are in that have achieved all that, but there are not as many as I would like. But because also, there is a requirement for you to solve the e-commerce problem and the consumer problem properly, you often need a lot of capital. Nigeria is so early in the market that there's a lot you have to build by yourself, like your logistics and so on. So this takes time and it takes capital. I think over time, as we see more and more investment coming into this industry, we'll start seeing more successful consumer business to consumer e-commerce companies.
Okay. But are there some kind of business practices or cultures that need to be built before we can expect this kind of outcome?
I do believe so. I think that companies have to focus very much on being very efficient operationally. When you are in e-commerce, you typically, the complexity is very high. There's a lot of technical complexity around what you are doing. There's a lot of operational complexity because you often need to deliver goods. And there's a lot of financial complexity because you are dealing with very big markets, lots of people that are paying you and monies that need to be transferred left and right. So what we need are people who are running such companies that can do these things very, very well. Once that happens, then we'll start seeing more success stories. And once that culture of taking care, like paying attention to a lot of the detail is brought into being in these companies, then we should see things work out much better than they currently are.
Okay, and that brings us to Hotels.ng's operations proper. You know, how has the response been? What's going on at hotels? And in terms of your African expansion, what has been the response so far?
So it has been great. Right now in Nigeria, we're probably running the biggest online hotel booking service. I think every single hotel now in Nigeria knows about us. They use our service. We have become indispensable in Nigeria. And about half a year ago, we started our Africa expansion. So we have now established smaller branches in Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. So there we have started slowly building it up. I hope that before the year is over, well, not this year, within the space of a year from now, I think that we should have become significant players in the East African market.
And then this last question, what is the most defining decision you ever took starting Hotels.ng?
I think the most defining decision was focusing first on how the consumer would find us rather than anything else. Because for your technical business, you have a clear path of discovery for the customer, where the customers really know how to find you, then it's always possible to build everything else on top of that. So I think that was the key decision, that we leverage search very, very heavily in order to make to build a business on top of.
And that's about the size of our package on this edition of Talking Tech. My name is still Jonah Mwakwako. Do join us on the next edition. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bounce News Nigeria, or you can follow us on Twitter at Bounce News NG. Thank you for watching. We'll catch us next time.